Okay, so we've all been there, right? You set this huge goal, you get all fired up, you're ready to use pure grit and discipline to get it done, and then, poof, it all just falls apart. Why does this keep happening? Well, we're gonna get into it.
But what if the problem isn't you? What if it's not about a lack of willpower at all? What if the whole strategy of just try harder is, well, kind of a lie? It's a pretty big idea, so let's unpack it.
You know how it starts? There's this big burst of motivation. You go out, you buy that shiny new planner, and you are ready to map out your perfectly productive future.
And you tell yourself, okay, this time is gonna be different. You set that crazy early alarm, totally convinced that tomorrow is day one of the new you.
And then life happens. A stressful day at work, you're tired, whatever it is. And just like that, you're right back where you started, feeling like a total failure. The planner's collecting dust, and that 6 a.m. alarm, yeah, it's getting snoozed over and over again.
But here is the absolute game changer. You are not the problem. The strategy is the problem. We've all been sold this idea that we need to rely on willpower. But what if willpower itself is actually a trap?
See, we think of willpower as some kind of moral virtue, right? Like you're either a strong person or you're not. But the science actually shows it's much more like a muscle, or maybe even a phone battery. It gets drained with every single decision you make all day long.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Your brain has one main job, to keep you alive. And a huge part of that is conserving energy. So when you try to force yourself to do something you really don't want to do, your brain literally sees that as a threat and slams on the brakes to save fuel. It's a survival instinct.
This right here is the perfect analogy. Imagine you're at a pool trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can do it, right? For a little while if you use enough force. But the whole time that ball is fighting you, pushing up, wanting to escape. Eventually, your arms are going to get tired, you'll lose your grip, and boom, the ball just explodes out of the water. That explosion, that's your burnout. That's your procrastination. That's you suddenly needing to watch an entire season of a show in one night. It's not a moral failing, it's just physics. Just let that sink in for a second. That constant internal battle of pushing and resisting is absolutely exhausting. So no, you are not lazy. You're just completely wiped out from fighting a war with yourself that you are never going to win. So if forcing ourselves to do things is a dead end, what's the alternative? The answer is to stop applying force altogether, and instead start building a system. And I mean, look at the difference here. It's night and day. Discipline burns constant energy. A system actually saves and even builds it. Discipline is all about that short-term push. A system is about creating a long-term environment. Discipline relies on force, and what happens when you're stressed? Force fails. A system, on the other hand, relies on making things easy, so it actually holds up when you're under stress.
Let's make this super concrete. Forcing yourself to get up and go for a run every single morning, that's pure brute force discipline. But putting your running shoes and your workout clothes right by the door the night before, that's a system. It just makes starting easier. Same thing with writing. Trying to force your way through writer's block, discipline. Having a nice, clean workspace and a simple rule that says just write for 5 minutes, that, my friend, is a system.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? How do we build one of these systems? Well, it really just comes down to 3 simple but really powerful ideas.
These are the keys to the whole thing. First, you just make the good habits easier to do by reducing friction. Second, you use what are called micro starts to trick your brain into getting going. And third, you use all those tiny little actions to build a new identity for yourself.
Let's start with the big one, the most powerful one, reduce friction. The idea here is to stop trying to boost your motivation, because we all know how unreliable that is. Instead, just make the thing you want to do ridiculously easy to start.
And it's so much simpler than you think. You want to read more? Don't leave your book on a shelf somewhere. Put it right on your pillow. It'll be staring at you when you go to bed. And you know what? This works in reverse too. You want to use your phone less? Increase the friction. Move it to another room so you actually have to get up to go check it. These little changes to your environment do like half the work for you. It's amazing.
All right, next up, micro starts. This is all about breaking a huge, scary task into the smallest possible first step. When you tell yourself, I have to work on this giant project for 3 hours, your brain goes into full-on panic mode. But if you just say, you know what, I'm just gonna work for 5 minutes, suddenly it doesn't seem like a threat anymore. It's just a little experiment, and that resistance in your brain, it just kinda melts away.
And this is the real endgame.
When you start doing these tiny little actions over and over, something deep inside you starts to shift. You stop saying, I have to do this, which always feels like a chore, and you start believing, I am a person who does this. You don't become a writer by writing a novel. You become a writer by being a person who writes for 5 minutes every day. That shift in your identity is what makes the change stick for good.
So the big takeaway here is this: stop fighting yourself. The goal is not to become a master of self-control through punishment. It's to become an architect of your own environment, to build a system that makes it easy to succeed.
And please, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this idea right here. You are not broken. You don't have a character flaw. You've just been using the wrong tool for the job. You need a system that works with your brain's natural tendencies, not against them.
So here's the challenge. Forget about all the big promises and I'll start on Monday stuff. Just for today, find one tiny piece of friction you can remove. Lay out your gym clothes, put a water bottle on your desk, open that one work document before you log off tonight. That's it, one small thing.
And I'll leave you with this question to think about. If you actually stop that internal war, if you stop trying to force change and instead just focus on building a gentle, effective system, one tiny step at a time, can you just imagine how different your life could be a year from now?